The first thing I wanted you to look at is the goals that I had when I went to NAB as far as the things that we wanted to accomplish with new technology. And the first one is to improve the workflow within the facility to make things easier for the students to produce content. Improve the workflow to the web and social media distributions that we do. Since it's becoming so important to everybody, almost as important as the 30-minute show we do. And I think it's the future of the news and marketing and promotions people that are coming through are going to use it quite a bit in the coming years. Again, expanded access for students to our system assets that we do have already. We wanted to converge the newsroom system and the Final Cut Pro systems that we use to create onto one platform. That being the Mac platform, since our Final Cut Pro is based in that. Improve the video and graphic assets backup capability of our media assets so that we don't lose stuff, especially in the middle of a semester when it could damage people's grades and whatnot. And then the final one is to improve the content and signal quality of the station, which is kind of starting to fall behind what is available out there. We still work in analog 4x3, and we would definitely want to at least try to move up to digital right away, 4x3. But the main goal would be to get to high definition so that we can output high definition both to the web and to the campus cable and to the community of Bloomington Normal. Okay, so what this block diagram is basically the workflow that we use every day to create our content, to broadcast our content, to archive our content, and to distribute it onto the web and social media. We acquisition on JVC cameras that shoot in XD cam format at 35 megabits a second. That'll be important a little later on. We have 3 models, and they all feed into a shared storage device. And a shared storage device is for groups of people that work on content collaboratively. Having the assets remain just on a workstation is difficult. It needs to be on a place where multiple people can access it. Not necessarily always simultaneously, but at least be able to touch it and open it and change something and then get back out of it. Right now we have an 8 terabyte storage device, and we can support approximately 6 edit workstations. On the newsroom server side, which is what Laura and Bob use to create the shows that we do every day, we have 10 workstations that are based on our PC platform. Off that, we also drive printer to print scripts. We drive a prompter for the talent during the show so that they're able to read the scripts that they've created earlier in the day. We have a video playout system, which plays the video that they've created by editing on the Mac workstations. Has 3 playout channels, or it can do 2 playout channels and 1 record at the same time. This monster here is the thing that we bought in 1992. It was approximately $65,000 is what they paid for it. It's a 24 input switcher, meaning I can put 24 different sources into it and get a preview program out. The items around the switcher are all the other items that create the visual graphics, the camera inputs. Of course, it accepts the video playout channels. And then we output that to a closed captioning device from which we drive data into that closed captioning device to put the video data onto the video that comes out of the switcher. And that, of course, drives our ISU cable system, the ISU IPTV system, Comcast cable, and right now I record on an H.264 recorder for archive. This is supposed to represent a large wall that's in front of the switcher that has black and white monitors, 4x3, probably approximately 12 to 15 probably, with a color previewing program. And of course we have a microwave in which we do live shots that comes through a frame synchronizer before it goes to the video board to put it in time. The legend is basically to show you what these links are. These are data links. of different types, but one is RS-22 to feed the CGs for an automated process of which it takes the graphics information that they put into their scripts can be automatically generated on a character generator, but the data has to get to that piece of equipment, and that line is what gets it to the CG. The prompter is what puts the data, again, on the closed captioning. The red indicates I actually run 2 networks within the facility. Well, I don't run them both. ISU network, which uses the ISU backbone. And then I have, in red, I have a video network in which I transport all the video between the workstations and the shared storage, the video server, the archive. It's basically how I move video around within the facility. All our workstations that we edit with have no access to the ISU network at this time. So what that limits me to is that I have this machine down here that has both the ISU network and the video network. And that's how I push our content to the ISU flash server on campus over in Stevenson. And then from there, I post to the web and Facebook and Twitter via WordPress right now. So that's basically the workflow that we have right now. And that's the thing I want to improve and change. And the way to do that, and we'll start off with the first one that's come to be here. We use a system right now called Easy News that's made by a company called Automated Data. It's a very rudimental newsroom system. It does have functionality, but not as much as it could, especially in the modern day. Ross Video, a company that's been primarily a hardware manufacturer for years for the video industry, has acquired Easy News and is basically going to put it to sleep. They didn't buy it for its technology, they bought it for their client list. Inception, to start off with, was not meant to create a 30-minute newscast. What Inception started to be was a social media management device so that news organizations could supplement what they were doing on their websites and on their 30-minute shows.
Managing social media can be confusing, labor-intensive, and expensive. Inception provides the means to take control of the process and create timely, compelling content, tying PR, editorial, and promotions into one easy-to-use system. Create content to be published to social media sites. Transform content across multiple accounts and sites. Control your message using a professional production workflow. Applications for Inception include news and breaking news. Expand your use of social media and add teases, story updates, or details to support news and press releases. Provide deep background information, video content, or live updates to social media as news happens. Promotions. Create promotional material and publicize upcoming events across all social networks from a single tool. Time content to appear when you need it to. Live events. Cover live events on the web by publishing updates and related information. Tweet from the field as events progress. Brand control. Direct viewers to where you want them by efficiently managing web and social media content. No need for individual tools for Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Inception does all. Protect corporate passwords for social media accounts. And have peace of mind knowing content is always checked before it becomes public. Stories are created from scratch or as a variant of existing stories, approved, scheduled, and published either immediately, at a specific time, or following each other on a user-driven playlist. The web-based client can be used from any modern desktop or mobile browser. Inception is the nexus around which media flows. It creates an editorial process that allows you to create, edit, approve, and publish content. The web-based GUI works with all popular browsers, PC, Mac, and mobile. History and versioning for every story provides tracking for each user. A built-in feed viewer for Facebook and Twitter provide a one-stop shop for all social tasks. Deep user role and permission management options are included.
And now here, recently, right before NAB of 2014, they released a complete newsroom version that still continues to do social media distribution too.
It's the world's newest newsroom computer system, and it really is more of a multi-platform content creation and management system than it is a newsroom computer system. Old systems were built to produce news for the 5 o'clock show. Inception is different in that it produces to the story, so that story can be sent out on primary content applications such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Bright Cove, or on the website, as well as the 5 o'clock news. We're very proud to announce that Inception has been awarded TV Technology Best of Show Award at NAB.
Which is a big award. Let's move on to the pros and cons of Ross Inception. I think the biggest pro is that it's a web and social media publishing and command point that can be used in conjunction with what Nate is creating in the social media listening area. It's able to search across RSS and social media, doing specific searches defined by the user. It can be used by TV10, WZND, and the Vedette for creation of news content and a Media Converge Center for newscasts, web, and social media distribution. One of the biggest things is that it has a web UI, which is a user interface, which fits in with our goal to be able to run our newsroom software on a Mac platform. Because now, with it having a web user interface, you can use it on any browser, Google, IE, Safari. The last one is it has a MOS interface. And just quickly to tell you what a MOS interface is, it was developed to be a universal protocol in which to send information back and forth between pieces of video equipment, from a newsroom system to a character generator, from the newsroom system to a video server. It's nice, it's new, but it also falls under this list here too, because of the expense. It's a very costly interface compared to what they call an intelligent interface, which is what we've used for years on our character generator. As of right now, Inception News doesn't even have an intelligent interface. It's due to come in January or February. They have a price for it already, but it's not available. There's actually a higher yearly maintenance fee than what we pay right now for Easy News. We pay approximately $1,500 a year for that, and they're looking to move it up to about $2,300. But really, not too many downsides to the software. Actually, I think it adds a layer to our newsroom that we don't have right now. The second item I like to talk about in the system is shared storage. And again, shared storage is for people that collaborate and want to have assets all in one place that multiple people can get to. Right now, we use an organization's product called Small Tree. It's a small shared storage device. It can handle approximately 6 people. The system was meant to do 6.
Right.
I sneak a few people in on the onboard Ethernet ports, and mainly Bob uses it to edit, but mainly it's to grab assets. And I have 8 terabytes of storage, which we always are over the 80% mark as far as being full, which is bad voodoo. It's going to cause you problems. It's going to cause you to crash. And the thing to look at this shared storage is that, and I think knowing that we're looking to move to a converged media center, you're going to need a shared storage device this large to support that type of lab with that number of people. It's sure going to make things a lot easier, especially if you have organizations that are collaborating. For a group like TV10 who's working on a show, the Vedette who's working on a print, and WZND who's doing radio, for them to create content as a group, as an organization, it really needs to be on a shared platform to be effective without, again, the workflow. It's all about the workflow. There's 2 products that I looked at and zeroed in on, and it's Small Tree, and it's a titanium Z16. The 16 comes from that it has 16 bays for 16 drives, which will increase the speed of the RAID. It has 48 terabytes. With that, I could support 40 users simultaneously editing. At the 35 megabit that we shoot on our JVC cameras, and we edit in that format, I can support 40 users. The second device is a place called Shared Network Solutions, and it's called EVO. Same device, 48 terabytes. I can support the same number of streams across that device with what we shoot at. So this system here has a management system that allows you to put that metadata in. With this system here, it's done more externally at the workstation level. I don't know if it justifies, well, I know it doesn't justify for me, the increased cost. So the one that I've picked is the small tree. And one of the reasons is I've established a relationship over the last 4 or 5 years with them, and they've always come through. The support's excellent. They're always willing to talk to you on the phone. They've gone above and beyond every time I've asked them. In addition to the shared storage, the idea that I could have a reporter or a producer sit at a machine and type a script and then flip to another application and edit a story that they've just gotten done writing would be really a big advantage. Right now, mainly they go to one machine to write a story, they go to another platform to edit the story. So if we wanted to have all our machines to be on the Mac platform, I would need an additional 10 Mac Minis with monitors and USB to gigabit Ethernet adapters. The i7 processor, the 16 gig of RAM, and 24-inch monitors. It comes out to about $1,500 per workstation. With the Final Cut and the Adobe software that we use, those 10 machines would cost me about $22,000, $23,000. The Final Cut is about $400, but it's less than that. But there's 2 other products that kind of go with that, and there's Motion and the compressor, which are $50 each. So you're looking at $300 for Final Cut, $50 for compressor, $50 for Motion. And then this Adobe product that we picked includes Premiere, After Effects, and Photoshop, which are primarily the 3 that we use from the Master Collection. So this one is actually $330 as opposed to the $550 for the Master Suite. Right now, our edit bays do not have access to ISUnet, and that's where I need the Ethernet ports, and I need 3 additional ones in the newsroom. We use a second newsroom that we produce our Monday and Friday second shows on, and I need 4 of them in addition for the studio. Because if you're going to buy them, you might as well get them all at the same time. The other upgrades we want to do, we would need those 4 ports in the studio. In addition to that, I would need some Ethernet cable to run for my video network, and that comes out to about $1,000. The grand total for the additional equipment would be about $28,600. So that leads us to the total cost of this part of the technology upgrade. $13,500 for the Inception News, $27,600 for the small tree shared storage. So the total cost of that portion of the upgrade would be about $70,000. So that's where we started. And this is where we're heading. The things we've accomplished is we've now moved this so that there are news and edit workstations, all in one platform. I now have, if I add Inception to the mix, and in a converged media center, I could possibly have 40 publishing workstations that could do YouTube, web, Twitter, Facebook. For me right now, it would give me 19. But looking to the future, that number we want to change to be about 40. Here's my shared storage. I'm still ingesting with the same cameras, still the same video server. So the main thing we've changed is this upfront section of our workflow, as well as the final output that goes to that. I now have 40 as opposed to what I had before. I had 1 that I had to go to publish from. So that kind of closes out the first part of what I wanted to do. Okay, so the second area that we wanted to focus on, and probably to TV10 specifically, is our major weak point, is that video switcher. It's 22, 23 years old. It's just got to go away. The new switchers have so much more in them than they used to. In addition to being able to just switch video, it's able to do digital video effects. And I can do 4 channels of digital video effects. And what that is I can take a picture and I can squeeze it up and down, left and right. I can crop it. I can move it around the screen. I can have 4 of those boxes that float around the screen with different video sources that I have available to me in the facility. The second thing that it has that old switchers didn't have is it has what they call still stores. And I shouldn't even call them still stores because they're able to play out a graphic, a still graphic, a graphic animation, or a video clip. I hit 4 of those. But I can do backgrounds for chroma keys where you have a camera and a green screen. So I have available to me that I could have 4 different stills available for backgrounds. So like our show that we do at 10 at 10, you know, rather than having machines all over the place with pictures sitting on them, we could have an animated background playing constantly in a loop that we could use as a source for a chroma key. It actually has a thing called Live Assist. In the old days, it's one person sitting at a switcher punching the buttons. The way the switchers are now, there's so many layers to them that through this dashboard, I can take those still scores and put them on a screen separate on a computer monitor through a web interface. And I can have a person help the TV by running those frame stores so that they can actually advance the graphics, backgrounds, whatever you want them to do. They can help the TD. You can run as many of those live assists as you want. So if you want someone sitting there doing your graphics and stuff, if there's DVE moves that you want to have recall and stuff, so you can add assistance to the technical director now. If you have the people. If you don't have the people, you don't do it. So it's kind of expanding a contracting type of deal. It's just how many people you have. This particular one that I chose, there's multiple chassis. This is what they call a multimedia chassis. And the reason I chose this one is because of these 4 inputs at the top. These 4 inputs will accept analog composite, component analog, HDMI. So you can take anything that has an HDMI. So a computer has an HDMI. I can come hook it up, plug it into the HDMI, and it goes through a frame synchronizer that puts it in time with all the stuff in the studio. I can do color correction. So I chose the 24 input chassis. There's 2 choices. There's 16 and a 24. With the 16, I would have only got 2 of these. With the 24, I get 4. And the reason I did that is because if we were going to do it in a process where we would just buy, let's just say the switcher, and not buy the character generator, not buy the server, this is a direct replacement. It's digital, but I can pull my old analog switcher out, put this chassis in, take my 4 cameras that are analog that need to be converted to digital, and upconvert them right to 1080i. All the other inputs will take in SDI and upconvert SDI to HD TV. So we can take standard definition SDI, serial digital, and upconvert it. These 4 can take analog, convert it to SD, and then up to HD. The panel itself, though, I didn't choose the 24 input panel. I did the 16 because on some of these inputs, for like a character generator, you have a cut and a fill. I don't really need to see the cut. So 16 input panel will be more than enough. Another new feature that's really cool with these is I chose what they call a 2 mixed effects level switcher, meaning it has 2 levels of mixers in it. But they've added a thing where they have quick recalls for those EMILYs, mixed effects layers, what EMILY stands for. And I can store and program setups so that I hit a setup, they're called mini-me's is what they're calling them. And it basically calls up the mix effects level from a snapshot. So to do complex settings like we do for the 10 on 10 show, I can have 1 camera set up with a background and a key and whatnot, and I can basically punch between the 3 with pre-programmed setups. So it really expands the capabilities of what the switcher can do. It also includes, it has 10 outputs. 1 preview, 1 program. Preview is the lower bus and shows you what is going to be on air, and the program bus is actually what's on air. So you have 2 of those outputs. Out of the other ones left, you take 2 of those and you can run to what they call multi-view monitors. And what it does is it takes 2 monitors. Each monitor has the ability to display 16 different images. So I've got two 16 multi-view monitors. So I have 32 images I can show. Normally what you show is all the inputs that you have on your buttons. And then you have that preview and program window that show on those. Right now, that would replace an old black and white monitor wall that I have that has about 12 black and white monitors in it. That just, when people come in, they see black and white, they see square monitors, and it's not impressive. Not by any means. Whereas if you, had people come in and look and see a multi-view setup, it's more impressive. So it's a big deal. I mean, like I said, that's one of the really sore spots in our control room is the switcher and the monitor wall. And you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. This $36,000 is the total cost of it. And that includes the switcher, the training, and the 2 multi-view monitors. There is going to be a little bit of additional stuff that we're going to need. The waveform monitor is really for testing and measuring. That's for me. I have no test equipment. I haven't been doing too much serial digital here or high definition. So all our test equipment is built around an analog world. I need some device within the facility to measure digital video and digital audio. And so that's what that is. And that's usually placed, in our case, I'll put it at the switcher itself. Some places have 2 where they have it there, they have it at the switcher, and they also have it back at what they call the core. The format converters are for stuff to change from like analog to digital or digital to analog, or to go from SDI to HD. And then the system, I'm going to need some of that without getting too technical. The audio embedder, de-embedders, what they do is the switcher itself, I said, plays out graphics and video. Well, when it's playing out video or the animations that you can create to do an effect, you may want to have a shoo or a dum, and that can play out. So you have to, the switcher makes that embedded signal that I talked about with video and audio. And in my facility, I still am going to do analog audio. And so I need to separate that audio from that video signal to get it to my equipment. So that's what I need that for. And that happens both on the video switcher as well as the character generator that we'll talk about later. So both of those would have to be de-embedded from the video signal to be used. So that, I've kind of get a lump sum here, and 12,000 should cover that stuff that I would need to do that. There are some areas where you would maybe want a couple separate monitors from the multi-view in certain areas where you have people working. I also included in on this is that now we've moved to a product that's capable later on of viewing HD, and we would have to be able to transport that over to the cable head end, which I do over fiber optic. And then I also would need an encoder to put our signal on the campus cable system. When the campus upgraded the cable system, they did an old analog monaural system, and it can be intermixed with high definition channels. And I think he's done that in blocks that he's going to slowly upgrade it to where it would all be HD, but that if we wanted to do that right away, we would have to make that purchase. So that's included in that price too, of the $15,000. So that additional equipment would be about $37,000, which would bring you to about a $73,000 switcher. Keep in mind though, like I said, the one we bought in '92 was $65,000, and not near the bang for the buck. That brings us to the next item in the upgrade, and this is the video servers. Right now, I use a 360 systems. It's actually a combination of serial digital and analog. I bought it that way because of the event that we would go here. So I can take SDI into my new Carbonite, and I can upconvert that to 1080i. It'll look good, everything's cool, it'll look really nice. I can do my cameras that way if I convert them to SDI. I have 3 channels. I can make them all play channels that I play out, or I can take 2 of them or play only, and I have 1 record channel that I can take video in and record it. The new ones would have just 2 channels. There is no record channels on these servers I'm going to show you, and I'll explain what we'll do since we don't have that. This Gallery Sienna is a company out of the UK. They use what they call a virtual VCR. And it's basically a Mac Mini with a Thunderbolt connection to a AJA is a company. It's not a device, or it's a converter that converts to serial digital out from the computer. It has another component called Automated X software. Now, Automated X software controls the server via a MOS interface. We talked about the MOS interface being a universal interface. And just to show you the problems with MOS, is without the MOS interface, without the Automated X, this would be about $14,000, about the same price as this. But it's $14,000. That MOS interface is $10,000. So the software that plays and the hardware that plays out the video clips, the automation software costs as much as the device itself. It's pretty crazy, pretty crazy.
Which makes more sense in a newsroom when you can eliminate paychecks by doing it.
Right, and not ours at all. Although there are some advantages, and let's pop over to the next slide real quick. Here's what the virtual VCR will look like on your computer screen. Looks just like a VCR. It's got a play control, it's got a pause, it's got a fast forward, it's got a record. These are your video clips that are available to it. What the Automation X does is Laura puts in a clip number for a story that's going to air for that day. If the asset is already in the shared storage device, it will just allow the producer to grab that clip and put it in the story. If the clip that they're going to put in the story doesn't exist already, it creates what they call a placeholder in the list until that asset shows up. Normally this would probably turn red or something to indicate your clip isn't there. So what the MOS is doing, it's creating a playlist dynamically so that if in her script that's supposed to air, if it's not there, the story hasn't arrived yet because they're late editing it or whatever, and she moves that script to another point in the show, it will move that clip in the playlist to wherever she's put it in the show. It redefines the order on the fly. It also creates the list just from start, and we don't have that right now. So a lot of time is spent, I call busy work. It's important, but I spend a good chunk of a day making a playlist that I have to then, in the middle of a show, if something does float, I have to move it manually. And, you know, in the process of that happening, you know, it causes problems. So this is real advantageous to have. But we'll go back. So now let's look at, so you kind of understand what this system is? This is Ross, the same company that makes the carbonite. It has a server. Here's a picture of it. It's a Dell box, and it has NVIDIA cards in it, 2 or 4, depending on how many channels you want. So basically, Ross will sell you the software. If you don't want their hardware, they'll sell you the software, and you can do the same thing. It won't play on the Mac, though. But you can basically do the same thing. You can put it on any PC, and it's what they call a virtual VCR. It does not have the MOS interface, though, which is crazy. They have a product called Overdrive, which is probably the best automation, news automation system out there that can do automation to air. They cannot interface their own video server. I think there's reasons for that. I think it has to do with them pushing you to buy their Overdrive, but I'm not sure. You ask the question and they all look at you, they just stare at it. So I don't think they've been told not to talk to you about why. So, but it does not have a MOS interface. So it consists of a Dell computer with 2 or 4 NVIDIA cards. It does have a very nice interface for the playlist, though, if you are going to go that route. It's got a really nice playlist setup. It also is able to play from one channel to the other. So like when we do a wipe, I can actually set it up beforehand to tell it to do that wipe. So I can do one channel and it's able to wipe to a, I don't have to even do a second channel. It's able to do it internally for you. So that's a cool feature of that. So that's pretty much the video servers that I looked at. Just to let you know, there's other video servers out there. There's Grass Valley, a number of other ones.
Very hard when you say that.
But again, I could do a 2-channel solo for about $15,000, and it has a MOS interface. But crazy enough, the box is $15,000. You know what the MOS interface is? It's 12. So that's why MOS is like just, you know, it's a good thing, but it's just horrible because it's so expensive. So the next item in this upgrade then is the character generator that I talked about. And character generator just creates on-air graphics. The first character generator I want to talk about is the Compix Persona. It's a 2-channel HD character generator with clip playback capabilities. It has an intelligent interface, but no MOS interface. It has low-cost web training available to students and faculty. All students and faculty and staff can get a copy of the software so that they are able to create graphics on workstations outside the main studio and then bring the final product back into the studio for playback on air. It's a turnkey solution, it's PC based, and the cost is approximately $21,000. Here's what they look like. Here's what they actually look like. They're probably a 4 or 5 rack unit box with a display. The thing that would be cool about this is that maybe you don't have the money right now, but maybe someday you do want a MOS interface. Because what's really cool about this MOS interface for the character generator is that back in your Inception news, I'm now in the story, I call up the template that I want to create. Now you just get the text fields where you put the names in and the data. What the MOS interface does is it allows you to actually open the template and see it. Not just the text boxes in a obscure interface. It actually shows you the graphic. You type in the content and it actually appears and you see the final graphic before you hit save. The MOS interface is $18,000. Just crazy. It makes the box damn near $60,000. It does do an intelligent interface, so you could buy the box without this $18,000 option. And probably, what do you figure, $3,800 off that? You know, what are you looking at, 33, 34? But again, if you were going to do virtual reality or augmented reality and buy the rendering engine, cool, really cool. Really impressive. I can buy one copy of the software, or they give it to you basically for $1. So I could put it on our Mac, and that software can go on a Mac or a PC. The box itself is a PC based, but the software that they give you is an emulation software, kind of. I guess is a good word for it. So I could put that on the machine that we do our weather graphics, and they could create their weather graphics and then shoot them over to the box for output. So it gives me like a second CG for creation. So it is a very cool product. I mean, it is very cool. And it may not be something you want right now. We may just would want to buy the box and the intelligent interface. But that the capabilities in would be later on if you had somewhere some spare cash one year, or you found some reason you really need it. Because that's the other thing. Thinking in the world of social media and that, if you were sitting in your suite and you wanted to create a graphic, you know, for social media, you want to see it before you publish it. So you could call it up, create it, save it. It's now an asset, and it doesn't have to go in the show. It can be attached to your story. So that when so it doesn't have to be just a video clip with it. It could be a graphic. It could be a video and a graphic. It's however you set up, how you push that, that content into your social media stuff. So that would be, like I said, the only advantage there would be that it's there. This may never have it. He may create one. I get the impression from talking to him that it's not his plan. The thing to think about automation is there's two types of automations. There's automation on the front side for moving data into the machines to get ready for air. And then the second part of automation, which is the big thing amongst broadcasters right now, is from the machine to what they say air. Someone, instead of having a human being pushing the buttons, they're letting the machine do it. The same work that you do for an automated show is the same work you do for a manual show. The only thing that's different is that pushing of the button. And I say we got plenty of people to push buttons. But on that front side, when you're doing a daily grind show, when you've got how many stories in a show, in the rundown?
25.
Exactly. There's a lot of, she's putting the information in there already. Why not use the information and drive it to the machine rather than someone reproduce the work that her producers just did by putting them in the scripts? That's the point about automation. So the total cost for this part, $73,000 for the Ross Carbonite. I went with the Gallery Sienna video server because I like the MOS interface. I think it will save a lot of time for the faculty and staff, which could be better spent with students, teaching them how to do stuff rather than sitting there creating playlists. I think for right now, the Compix Persona would probably fit more into what we're trying to do and what our budget probably would allow maybe in the end. So we're back to, this was the original workflow. Well, the original after our first technology purchase. You can see here we lost the still store that we used to have up here. It's gone. I no longer need a frame sync. All I need to convert this to analog to digital. The switcher on every input is a frame sync. I do need to add A to D converters for the cameras. I've got my multi-views from the Carbonite. I mentioned before that our servers aren't going to have a recording option. There's a couple different ways to do it. You could do like a Key Pro and do a ProRes 422 recording, although the file sizes are huge for that, for an archive. I would almost rather, I have an H.264 recorder, which is a format that does an MP4 wrapper. I would rather just buy another one of these. The Key Pro is about a $3,500 box, but it's going to produce a huge file. And for an archive, you don't want a huge file. H.264 is a much better format for archiving. And it's a $500 solution as opposed to a $3,500 solution. So, I don't see any benefits of doing it. The H.264 is what we post on the web. So basically we've taken the 8 terabyte RAID that we were using for archives, we turned it into an iTunes server and for graphics workflow. This just becomes a weather computer and a Mac Mini server for the facility. And that's the final total.